Great. Well, if something is not looking right, then please let me know. Otherwise, I guess we will get started. Although I can't move this mouse off this screen now, which is interesting, but so we'll see how this goes. We'll start with the biggest fun of the evening, the antitrust policy. So this and all Linux Foundation meetings run under the antitrust policy. If you're a member company, then you can contact Andy Updegrove. If you are not, then please contact your own legal counsel. And if you cannot stick with this policy, then please leave the meeting. I won't take any questions because I won't be able to answer them. So good. Hopefully there are no issues with that. This is the agenda, following the normal format: news, spec working group, education working group, and AOB. OpenChain project news, which is as much for me as perhaps as it is for everybody else. Main news item is the AI system bill of materials. I guess this is a freely available to all in its release version. Okay, so I don't particularly know anything more about that, but if anybody does and wants to say anything, then please jump in now. I should add that I have actually read it, but I think it was possibly a one of the draft versions.
Yeah, I think those would be easier for me anyway, if there was a link in there as well as one of those confusing things that you got to take a camera out, which I'm not allowed to use inside, and take a picture, and yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I had to do that with my phone and like email the link to myself to confirm where it went to. So yeah, obviously the QR codes work well for people who are watching just the video on a catch up, but not so good for people here in the call. Maybe I'll take think about that for next time, Chris, because I think for people in the call, it's easier for me to drop the link straight into the notes. For people who are watching it later, then it possibly is easier with the QR code.
Actually, if you use a Windows machine, you can use the snipping tool and to make a little screenshot of the QR code, and then it also shows you the link.
Yes, that'll probably work too. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. Lots of good news in terms of people announcing that they've reached conformance, which is always great, as our community gets bigger with real people using the real materials. So that's always fantastic. And a couple of QR codes here for recent webinars and briefings. So unfortunately, personally, I couldn't make the containers one, and quite disappointed that there was some technical issue, which means that I can't watch it on demand. And the CRA one I did watch. So yeah, both good ones. I don't know, Chris, you were on the containers one at least. Do you want to say anything more about that?
No, I think Mary and I were both on that panel discussion. I thought it went well. We covered a lot of territory, talked about a lot of things with license compliance and binary objects, whether they're containers or libraries or just something you download out of a repository somewhere.
So you're right, we didn't have a recording, but we did try to create a summary in case anyone wants to probably what's at that link is just a text summary.
Yeah, it is. I only briefly checked that the link worked on my phone and had a quick look. So yeah, I saw there were some notes on there which I plan to have a good look through later. So yeah, so it's good to at least have that. I'm gonna have a good read of that later as well, and would encourage other people to.
Oh, sorry. I was like, I don't think we broke any new ground, but we were all in agreement about areas of where we need more work.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
More
Yeah.
work.
More work done. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
More work done by others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Anyway, encourage people to follow the links for both of those stuff. And then we'll move on. Over to you. I'll go past this. I guess most people know. Wait for a few seconds for anybody who's using phones to go through the QR codes, and then we'll move on.
So on our last group call we talked about adjusting ISO standards for the CRA, and the consensus was that we should try to avoid regional customization. And I really agree with that. I think it would be too difficult if we started putting all the EU and the Australian and the Canadian and the US peculiarities into our requirements. I think that everyone needs to know that they need to comply with their regional legalities in doing this work. But what we're trying to give them is the basic structure on what you would do for license compliance and also security assurance. So I think we need to probably think about and go back and revisit each one of the two specs from a country perspective, or however you would like to look at it, and see if there are some kinds of edits or additions that we want to make between now and the end of next year. And then those would, if we've got anything substantial, would go into an update or a new version of the specification, which is a lengthy process.
Do you have any ideas on how to actually do that? Just call for people to give input, or what?
Yeah, I think that if we can get everyone, as they've got a chance before our next meeting, to kind of take a review and think about it, maybe make some notes in the repository, we could start thinking about what it is that we want to do, and kind of come to consensus for what it is.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So I'm in a lucky position that we don't actually ship any software anywhere. So I'm happy to learn from other people really at this stage. So Marcel, your hands up.
Yeah, so my understanding from the board meeting was, where we discussed this topic as well, that we might look into a little working group or a little community who looks into the CIA and pulls together all additional requirements from the CIA for open source software management, and that we perhaps could publish this as an addendum to the ISO standard. Within our community or on GitHub and so on. Actually currently we at PwC, we look into these additional requirements from the CIA, and we want to pull them together. And we would be happy if someone here from the community would join us and also help us to do so, or to review what we find out and so on, so that we can come up with a little delta between ISO and CIA. Because I think this would be very helpful for the community. And then the second part is, of course, I mean, if we find out very interesting things in the CIA and say, okay, this is worth to actually put into the ISO, independent whether it's an European or Australian or US requirement, but it's worth to put it into the ISO because it's relevant for everyone. I think this is then the topic which here comes to your point: what should we include into the new ISO or any new version? But currently, I would be interested if someone wants to work with us together on this diff version between CIA and ISO.
Yeah, I've been working with ISO standards for a number of years now, and I'm not sure if it's possible to even put an addendum to an ISO standard that lists a separate set of requirements. I know that some places have started working on standards for just their region or just their country, but in general, for ISO standards, we've steered away from doing that for the specific reason that I don't think it's a good idea either. Because what we'll do is we'll spend a lot of time working on it and then proposing it to the ISO committee, and they're going to turn it down as part of this approved standard.
Yeah, so may I answer to this directly, Andreas, before you?
Yeah, sure, go.
Yeah, so perhaps my wording was not correct or not as intended. So it doesn't have to be an official addendum to the ISO standard. It's perhaps can just be a guidance document within our community. It shouldn't be an official ISO addendum or change to the ISO. It's just a document for the community where someone can look into and say, okay, the OpenChain group has jointly worked out that these are the differences and these are the additional requirements coming from the CIA or from DOR or whatsoever, and that we can share this as a community. So I didn't mean to really make it an addendum or an addition to the ISO.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with doing that, because I think people are going to be interested in, okay, here's the specification, and then here's differences that come out of these regulations, whether it's an EU regulation or a US regulation or an Australian regulation, is not really germane. But I think it would be good for the people in those areas to have something that says, okay, here's a look at the differences.
And we're going to need a set of those documents to work out what's common across all of them anyway. So I think, yeah, some sort of document I think is a good idea. Andreas?
Yeah, I wanted to suggest the same, that instead of changing the ISO standard, we could have our own document where we have that. Of course, there's also, besides the CRA, Marcel mentioned already, DORA, we have similar requirements for NIS2 or for RED. In India, there were just new, the CERT India and SEBI, and I think it was just today or the day before, where the United Emirates, they also have published something like this CRA. So I think we will see something for every country around the world. So if we can, I think it will be a lot to compare all of those, but it will be very helpful to the different users. Maybe it's not one document, but several based on region.
Yeah, I think that's probably a better idea, is to get somebody from the region who thinks that this is important, for them to kind of outline all of the important points out of it, and then we can try and contrast them with our standard to see where there are differences, and then we can see how common that is, because that would be a very big full-time task probably, to take each one of those national or regional regulations and cross-reference that with all the rest of them. I think that'd be a pretty big job. But if somebody can do from each region can do the one that affects them the most, then we can put them together and stir them around and see what floats to the top as being similar across all of them. And then those we can look at how would we fit them into our specifications. What do you think? Does anybody think that's a bad idea?
No. Martin has his hand up, so maybe he does, or a different point to raise.
So yeah, thanks. I wanted to, in a way, raise an aspect of, like, there may be different ways of us taking into account these standards. So, for example, a minimum level could be to, in a way, ensure that we are not conflicting with one of the standards here, rather than then, on the other hand, yeah, having simultaneous compliance is likely, if not impossible, at least a difficult task. So in that sense, in a way, this type of a, do we have in the, for example, in the OpenChain security specification or the assurance, do we have there elements which, in case you want to comply with the EU CRA, you are at a difficulty to comply with both at the same time, and that's something we likely want to avoid. So one of the things I was looking at here, which didn't seem to be a conflict, but was like a little bit like a new point, considering that the OpenChain security assurance is really about process points, as most of the OpenChain specifically are, and then CRA is a bit more about the actual content-wise, what should be actually achieved, what should be the content of the actions. Well, the security specification also has some content-wise actions, but there is this the CRA also has some, in a way, process points. One of process points which seems to be lacking, at least in the, or isn't like supported for now in the many of the security area specifications, is that process point of risk assessment happening, in a way, preferably prior in the design phase, where you actually decide that whether your product, how critical your product is it going to be used in a business critical setting where you then need to, in a way, apply most or all of the, in a way, security hardenings if you want to, or is it going to be used in a lower lesser importance? So this type of, in a way, process-wise questions might also be areas which we want to look at going forward, see that how can we ensure that by complying with the OpenChain security assurance, you don't, in a way, generate some kind of a difficulty or obstacle for you to comply with whatever local regulations then there are in place.
Yeah, that would be a good way to approach it. Might even be easier than to try and find commonalities. I think commonalities across all the sets of regulations, if there were multiple, would probably drive you to thinking about, do we need to put this into one of our specifications for either security assurance or for licensing? But absolutely, a conflict with any one of the regulations might cause us to think about, how do we modify our specification to still get the point across without causing a lot of consternation for people in that region? Is that what you were driving for?
Yes, exactly. That's okay. In a way, you could think it as a possible minimum, in a way, yeah, compatibility implementation.
All right, well, let's see how the reviews start coming across as people bring ideas forward, and then we'll take a look at it, and maybe we can refine our approach based on that.
That sounds good. So I know that this is the last of the spec related slides. Is there anything that anybody wants to ask about in relation to this that shouldn't wait for the AOB at the end?
I don't know if this is a good time, but I wanted to let everyone know that I am your OpenChain ambassador for the specification work group. My name is Mary Hardy. I know some of you on the call. I work at Microsoft. I've been there for 3 years, and I spent 12 years before that working for Dave Marr at Qualcomm. And I'm not exactly sure what an ambassador does yet. I'm trying to get some clarification. I think I'm just here to hype us up and promote us around the world and be here to answer questions from the public.
And you get a funky T-shirt as well, don't you?
And I got a hoodie.
Oh, you are wearing it as well. Okay,
All
well
right.
done. Yay. We're
Very
all
nice.
jealous.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So,
Yeah.
thank you. So hopefully, I don't know if we have more than one ambassador, but I am one of them.
Cool. Yeah, there is a page related to that where they're all listed out. I don't have it right in front of me, but yeah, it was mentioned in the last spec call we had. So perhaps someone's just put it in the chat. So cool. Thanks, Mary.
Oh, that was Jari saying he's also an ambassador. So there's two. Very good.
Yeah, there are.
Me as
I think
well.
there's two or three on most working groups. So obviously this is a combined call, so potentially we could have 4 to 6 on this particular call if everybody joins. But yeah, I think it's a great initiative, and hopefully will really help and push things forward.
Oh, great. Yeah, we've got Martin too. This is good. That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Great. Oh, that's on to me.
That's you.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, since the last call in particular, I think there's a bit of nudging going on here from Shane. Yeah, I continue to make some minor updates to the LFC 193 course. Actually, the ones which I have are some comments raised from Yari after the last call that we have. So I'll show that in a minute. And that's already been shared with the education working group anyway. And Shane is kindly suggesting a walkthrough of what we have at the moment. So I will try to swap screens and share and try and do that. So let's instead share. Come up. Probably if I can work out which window I should have, of which I have too many. Not that one, not that one. Maybe I'll have to go to the okay, let's just go to the entire screen in that case and hope that works. I want okay. Oh, that's why. It was the let me try and share the specific one in that case. That's why it was confusing me. It was the joining the Zoom page was being shown. Okay, can you see hopefully the browser at the moment?
Yes.
Right. Okay, cool. So we can make that full screen. So this is the minor change that I've made since last time. These are related to kind of the final quiz, and Yari made some good points in the sense that kind of although the answers and questions were sort of correct, it was kind of in the context of open source license compliance. So it's kind of like, yeah, sort of right, but can also see that people might make the wrong choice. So I've tried to at least tighten those up a little bit to make a bit more sense. I would certainly welcome if anybody can come up with any better kind of final quiz questions or questions for any of the sections anyway. So I won't go through this in particular detail right now and allow people to look offline if they want to. So kind of, yeah, say like I've added, like instead of saying which are important to ask, it's like in the context of open source license compliance, which of these are important, because they may be important for in other contexts. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll let you look at that at your leisure. And so this is the current version of the course that we have now, and I'm not aware of any open comments or proposed changes against it right now. So of course it follows the same things we've had before, the course overview. I've added in more links to definitions of things like the licenses. These things are now hyperlinked. Hyperlinked generally out to places like Wikipedia, which may or may not be the best way of doing it, but those that already existed. So I've followed the same format. Okay, we go into introduction to open source licenses, use cases, proprietary license or closed source. We'll look at freeware and other kind of meanings, permissive license compatibility and multi-licensing. And then to chapter 3, start really talking about actual compliance. And kind of some of the issues that may come up. Our quiz. Ooh, see my internet connection is unstable, but hopefully you're still with me. So key concepts for code building and distribution. So this is the area where I have updated these diagrams because they were in some cases incorrect, unfortunately, and or misleading. So the plan here is to make these course content more interactive and maybe some AI presenter and video for some of these ones, so it's easier to get across some of these concepts of incorporation, linking, don't know, so static linking and dynamic linking, modification stuff. Let's move on. Development tools. And how it's distributed. Okay. And the final chapter, as it was before, bring things together, and final exam. Okay. So say it's minor, if you like, changes to how it was originally, but hopefully it's all the bugs have been fixed that we know about, and perhaps hopefully, I hope it's easier to understand, and possibly in some places a bit easier to translate as well. I think in some places it was quite tricky English language that was being used. So that's the state that we are today. As I say, I'm not aware of any other outstanding comments. So I think I would like to basically have this as a call for any final comments. And if there are none, then I will make the Delta version for the Linux Foundation training people and pass that on to them. So that may then cause, they may make suggestions to change back into this, but so as far as I'm aware, there is nothing outstanding. Are there any comments or questions or proposals on this?
Yeah, I'd like to have a chance to go back through it one time. I've been otherwise occupied since Shane's call for taking a look at this has come out. If I could just have a day or two to finish going through it.
I won't do anything for at least 2 weeks anyway, I think, because I'll have the same kind of repeat call for looking at it at the Asia call as well. So you've definitely got 1 or 2 weeks at least.
Okay. Are you awake
and
for
I
the
appreciate.
Asia call?
Yes, yeah. It's early morning for me. It's 8 a.m. or something. So yeah, and I totally appreciate it if you do, and in fact it'd be great if you say I don't have any comments, so at least I know somebody else has looked at it.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So partly because I want to get this at least a bit, I mean, we'll never be completely finished, right? So, you know, if anything else comes up later, we can always come back to it. But if we can at least get this out and updated and a little bit better than it is as an improvement, then we can start working on the 194 course and improve that. And if necessary, we can come back and add any more additional stuff or changes, etc. on this one anyway. We're never finished. Let's put it that way. Okay, so if I can manage to swap myself back again to this one, isn't it? And hello, it's all right. So it stopped doing present. And you're going to have, which one are you seeing now? Are you seeing presenter view or proper view?
Presenter view.
Yeah, but now I know how to fix that. I feel so empowered. Is it better?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're on to any other business, of which nothing is listed. So does anyone on the call have anything to add?
I guess I just have one question. What happened with the survey that we had talked about earlier this year that came out of the board meeting? Did we get any good responses back to that?
You mean the survey that was like we gave like an initial summary of a few meetings back? That survey?
No, it was yeah. Yes, I think that we're talking about the same thing. It was the survey that Shane was going to have sent out to the companies that have signed up to use the certifications and see if they had any commentary, good, bad, or indifferent to the both of the specifications.
Yes, I know there was a survey that had one like, you're aware of any missing things in the main spec and security spec or inconsistencies between them. So we're talking about that one, yeah, where we yes, we definitely had a like an initial it'd been open for a week kind of thing, but not a this is the final result, have we? So I'm sure Shane is listening on playback. So I think we should probably try to have the final version of that in the next call, or an update, as in, you know, we're still getting responses or whatever.
I think that would be a good idea a month from now.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to try and remember, Chris, and put it on the agenda.
Yeah, and you might put it on the agenda for your Asia call. That it helps speed it up a little bit.
Yep. If it's like done and available, then I think we'll try to do that.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks very much. There's certainly nothing more from me. Anything from anyone else? Last chance.
Just a question about the LFC 194. When do you think, that will start? The improvement of 194.
Yeah, so That's a very good question. I think so. For that one, we had like already proposed changes in the Word document version that were never enacted. These were comments actually from Mary, so I think we would go through those possibly in the next one of this call to accept or reject or modify those, and then from then I can then make the markup version of that, and then we'll collaborate directly around the markup version is what I'm planning to do.
Okay.
So obviously that will then put pressure on Mary to join the call next time, though. So it may be that there's a clash and that's not possible. So we'll take it out as it goes, I guess. But that's my plan.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, in that case, I think we can call it a wrap for today, and I can formally move over to the last slide. So it's the close of the meeting. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining and giving your input. And I will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That was impressive. See you later, Martin.
See you. Let me find the leave.